Hello and welcome to the Are You Bored Yet podcast. I'm your host Harry. I'm joined by
Louis.
and today is our first episode ever, and we are starting our series on World War Two. Our first episode is titled "Gathering the Storm." So sit back and enjoy this video.
Cling to my baby, and she clings to me. We talk of the future, but what do we see? There's a mushroom cloud that hangs in the way. Tomorrow looks black, so we live for the day. Peace, 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 where did you go? Oh, peace, 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 where did you go?
So, today we're talking about how basically the Nazis rose. Obviously, the Nazis rose to power at this point. It's 1933 to 1939, right? August 1939. So we're going to talk about their early years in power, basically. So some of the countries they invaded, so Austria, Czechoslovakia, how they consolidated power, and some of the laws they brought in. So the year was 1933. Hitler's just rose to power with the burning of the Reichstag. So Louis, do you want to tell us what happened after that?
Well, I'll go on to the biggest one of them all, 1934. I think it was June or July, I believe. The Night of the Long Knives, which was pretty much the Nazis or Hitler's justification to turn on his own men and people who were threats of his power. So you got like people like Ernst Röhm who were killed, ordered by Reinhard Heydrich, who executed people who were seen as a threat. Didn't last very long, only lasted a few days, but it was a huge, uprising to Hitler and a massive recognition to his power and how he became so strong.
Yes, good. Oh, good old Reinhard Heydrich, Butcher of Prague. We'll get onto him in the later episode. Another thing I'll just point out quickly: this is probably going to be about a 7-part series, right? So 7 episodes where you get to listen to our joyous ramblings of World War Two. And so what happened? So burning of the Reichstag, he blamed it on a Dutch communist, right, which allowed Hitler to enable the Emergency Act, I think it was. I'll put a correction if I'm wrong with that one. And then obviously, well, yeah, it seems about right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Night of Long Knives happens. So 1935, the Nuremberg laws. So then, don't explain what the Nuremberg laws were.
Well, this isn't really my type of part of Nazi Germany pre-World War, so I think I'll give you this.
Ah, right, okay, I'll do it then. So Nuremberg laws, they brought in laws basically limiting the amount. I want to say like the amount of power the sort of Jewish population had. So they couldn't get married. They couldn't marry to German citizens. They couldn't get certain jobs, stuff like that. It really did limit them. But also during this time in 1935, and especially in the early years, a lot of people thought Hitler, oh, he actually seems to be an alright guy, because you had the Autobahn being created. You had the Volkswagen, that's it, right? You had that company created where you could get where you were meant to be promised a car after so many years of working. You never really got it half the time. But in the early years, up to about 1936, actually really up until about the beginning of the war, the Nazis did do some. I'm not supporting the Nazis here, but I'm just saying they did do some good stuff, like the Autobahn, which employed a lot of people. But fast forward. Sorry, go on.
Fritz Tot.
Oh,
Yeah, you got Fritz Tot, Albert Speer, all them lots
yeah.
who were, architects and all that before. The war, but yeah,
a lot of slave labour used
Yep.
by them too.
My great granddad was involved, not in the slave labour, but he was involved in the destruction of, forced workers and. Yeah, I'll let you carry on. Just carry on.
Yeah. Both our. Was that your great granddad?
Yes, my great granddad.
Yes. I think both our great granddads served in the war. However, a lot of my family didn't really spend that long fighting, as they all got captured, sadly. But anyway, carrying on. 1936, Austria.
I'll take this if you want.
Oh yeah, go on. Yeah, sorry.
I
I'm just rambling on. You take Austria.
won't mention that much of Austria, but like all I'll say is that this is probably the year where they violated the Treaty of Versailles, probably the highest of the highest. I think it was probably the biggest year where it showed
Yep.
their
Yep.
actual destruction. So I think they what month was it? March, I think it was. They did the Rhineland. They
Oh, yeah, we completely forgot about the Rhineland. I don't manage to forget that. Yeah, so the remilitarized the Rhineland. That was the first sort of military act by the Nazis, right? I don't think there was even a shot fired when they took it over. They basically walked in, and that was like the sort of first main breach, I would say, of the Treaty of Versailles. Obviously, you had other ones, like, obviously, they were developing tanks in secret and obviously rebuilding the army. They knew they constructed it, and the Air Force, all the armed forces, and the good old Kriegsmarine, which was some ambitious idea. Like, they weren't meant to finish constructing the Navy until like 1947 or something. Mental. But anyway, so, they took the Rhineland, first major breach. But later on, what happened with Austria?
I'll let you take over because I haven't played. There's a game called Hearts of Iron 4.
No, Hearts of Iron.
So
Good old Hearts of Iron 4.
I'm a rookie to this this part of the Nazis. All I know in 1936 is that's when Himmler was appointed chief of SS.
Oh yes, yes,
Or
yes,
the
yes.
Schutzstaffel,
The Schutzstaffel, yes.
which is the
there you go.
protection squad.
Mhm.
That's all it means.
Yeah, so it went from Hitler and the top Nazis' private bodyguard to a fighting warrior, really.
Yeah, and the SS was. People think the SS was part of the Wehrmacht. It technically wasn't. It was its own fighting force.
Yes, that is correct. You see like a lot of Wehrmacht commanders throughout the war always complaining about the SS because the SS could basically do what they wanted.
Yeah.
And that was what a lot of the issues were.
Yeah.
So finally getting on to Austria, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, right? I'll put it up on screen when I'm editing this later, but the Anschluss, I think it's called. So which was the somewhat peaceful reunification of Austria into Germany. As Hitler saw it, they are both the same people. You also said that about a few other countries, but look how that went. Right, so Austria's took, and this is where a lot of, I would say, some red flags started to pop up now with Western nations in Britain and France, but to be honest, not much was really done until the Germans wanted something called the Sudetenland on the Czechoslovakian-German border, which was a population, it's a population inside Czechoslovakia, which was a German majority. So, you had Neville Chamberlain and a few others fly out. They discussed, oh my days, I've just crashed a car. If you're wondering what game we're playing, it's DayZ, by the way. So, Czechoslovakia, so Neville Chamberlain, a few of the Western powers fly out to Germany, and basically they agree Germany can take the Sudetenland, but they cannot have Czechoslovakia. And Louis, do you remember what happened when Neville Chamberlain flew back to Britain?
I do not. Enlighten me.
Ah, good, I'll enlighten everyone then. So, he got off his plane holding that famous white piece of paper saying peace in our time. There was not peace in our time, I can tell you that. Soon after, German forces rolled over the border and took over Czechoslovakia. And this is when the red flags really started to show, I have to say. This is in 1938, by the way, the takeover of Czechoslovakia. And,
Yeah, well,
yeah, go on.
I'd like to interject real quick. The difference, right? Neville Chamberlain and Hitler. From what I've known, the knowledge I can, take in, I believe Hitler actually saw Neville Chamberlain as not a friend, but someone he could,
someone he could do business with.
But then Churchill come along and he despised him. Because I believe Hitler's view on Churchill, I think he said that Britain's a great country ruled by an idiot. I think it was something like that. I don't remember the name, but what he said. But can we just go back to 1937, just for a second? Because 37 was when they started focusing heavily on the rearmament of the military and economy. So they built a lot of that was probably, as well as the concentration camps. That was when they fully
yes,
started getting used.
We'll saw discussion about that. And we'll get onto the Spanish Civil War as well, because I just realised that completely went over my head.
And
Go on.
yeah, and in 1937, that's when Aryanization was not brought in, but very, very heavily focused on. Also, it was pronounced, I think it was the Volkic it was named as, which is the ideologies as of the Germans. Which is funny because when Goebbels was obviously Minister of Propaganda, he viewed Heinrich Himmler, and I believe it was Joachim von Ribbentrop, I think it was him. I believe Goebbels saw those two ideologies of, you know, race and, you know, like that. He saw Himmler's as ridiculous. So I guess that shows the contrast of different, they're horrible people, but it shows you they had two different views on one party which they want to have the same views, isn't it? That's what I find quite interesting.
Yeah, and good old Himmler meant to be one of the most devout Nazis, going against Hitler in the downfall in like the last 10 days of World War II.
Discussed his surrender with us.
Yes, his plan was to speak to Eisenhower and do a conditional surrender, I believe.
Yeah.
Look how that went.
Yeah.
So,
And also, he was into cults and everything, wasn't he?
oh
I believe.
yeah, what a strange guy.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
His talks of him apparently being Jewish. Oh,
Yes, I've seen that.
That's a discussion for another day. But anyway, back to...
Yeah, 38.
Yeah, back 1938. So, German troops have just took over Czechoslovakia. They've had a bit of a fight on the hand. And good old Hitler, being the good old arrogant imperialist he is, right? And he did this in a lot of the early years as the German army was conquering Europe. He would sit up in his Ju-52, I think it's Ju-52 transport plane, and basically watch his army conquer countries. Mental thing, you got your leader just flying around up in the air, right, risking his life, because he's so adamant that his army's going to win. There was a bit of a fight for Czechoslovakia, but obviously, overall, Germans took over the country. But prior to that, 1936, what happened in Spain in 1936, Louis?
Civil War.
Yes, indeed. Who was the nationalist leader?
It was Francisco Franco, isn't it? I believe it was. Franco?
Yes, good old Franco. Now, the Spanish Civil War is a completely other topic to be speaking about, and we'll do a series on it.
No, I think it's important because people don't know this. On the Eastern Front, Franco, obviously he was claimed to be neutral, but he sent, I think it was like 20,000 volunteers over the Eastern Front.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's right.
they were extremely effective because obviously pre-World War, they're all veterans, weren't they, from the Civil War?
Oh, yeah, good point.
So they were recognised because they had these Spanish patches, I believe it was on the styling helmet and on their uniforms. I believe, I forgot the name, it was like I don't want to mispronounce it, but it was some German Spanish uniform they had. It had like a Spanish crest on the arm.
Yeah, Civil War, yeah, 1936, so I'll carry on. So, the communist leader, I'm also going to butcher this name, sorry, Dolores Ibarruri, known as La Passionera. I cannot pronounce that properly, I apologise, I'll put that up on screen as well. So, yeah, the communist leader, 1930, he was communist leader 1936 to 1939, right? Obviously, nationalists won. Due to help from Germany, they sent something called the Condor Legion to help out Spain, and so did Joseph Stalin. He sent his own foreign fighters into Spain, and this is the first notable location you see German and Russian tanks going head on, and Russian tanks discovering a lot of issues like the BT-5 tank, realising stuff to do with the fuel tanks, it would catch fire very easily when shot. So anyway, Mussolini, he helped Francisco Franco with an airlift from northern Morocco and the Spanish controlled territories there, airlift his troops back into mainland Spain, and due to the help of the Axis, he was allowed to win the war. Yeah. Anything else to add to that?
38? Or 36, sorry, did you say which one?
That was 1936, Spanish Civil War.
Yeah, I think you just summarised it pretty well. It's just the reason Franco sent over volunteers is because he was happy of what Hitler did during the Civil War. So that's why it's a payback thing. But yeah, do you want to move on to 39? Big one.
I'll come to that in just a second. So, concentration camps. We've got to speak about this. Concentration camps originally set up to deal with political, the sort of political adversaries that the Nazis had to face. That was the main one to begin with, right? And I highly suggest watching the movie Hitler: The Rise of Evil, as that it's such a great movie and it explains stuff very well. And
Better than us.
yeah, better than us. All we do is just ramble on.
Yeah.
And if you think we aren't like this off camera, trust us, we are exactly the same. So, the concentration camps set up mainly for the political adversaries. It then developed into religious. Yeah, it developed a lot. It obviously ended up in religious to the Jews, disabled,
Gays.
yeah, the gays,
Homosexuals.
yeah, homosexuals, whatever, right? And
Gypsies was one, wasn't it?
oh yes, good. Gypsy Romas, they were targeted as well. Just one thing to point out, during the Weimar Republic, which was yet again another thing to do a story on, it was one of the few places that accepted like gay people and would have open sort of like gay bars in the night time. It was a very pioneering nation at the time. But getting back to where we were, so the concentration camps developed over the 30s and progressively got worse into the 40s when you had something called the final solution, which was exterminating them all.
Years and years and years later, Hitler ordered the extermination.
Yeah, the final solution. But that is a good point you've just what you've just brought up, that a lot of his inner circle, so Joseph Goebbels, Martin Bormann,
Manstein.
no,
Erich von Manstein.
I'll come back to Manstein, Hemingway, etc., right? They could get away with saying a lot more sort of criticisms towards Hitler, right? But look at what happened to Gerd von Rundstedt, Heinz Guderian, when they raised complaints and stuff, they were dismissed.
If you look at good old, I forgot his name. So it was his second name is Witzleben.
Oh,
He was
Witzel Ben, yes.
He was involved in the July plot,
Mhm.
and do you know how he died?
Shot, wasn't
No,
Oh,
he
God.
was hung on. He was hung by a meat hook, but he wasn't hung on the meat hook. I believe it was a fishing rod, like wire,
Ooh.
around his neck, and he was on. Yeah, and do you know when he was put to court in the court, he was told and he was forced to wear trousers way too big for him. So when he was in the court in the hearing, they would fall down and embarrass him, and the judge was obviously very very far right. So I believe he ordered the execution on the spot.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was a quick sidetrack of Mr. Old Witzleben. But yes,
And
continue.
yeah,
with,
and von Stauffenberg's plan for the
yeah,
July
Klaus
plot
von Stauffenberg.
came
Yeah.
so close to working, yet so
Yep.
far. So back to
Yep.
where we were. The year is 1939.
39. Yep.
Yes. Hitler and the Nazis have used something called the Metho bills to disguise their spending on the German army. It was actually 1930. I'm going to have to put the date up on the screen. I think it's 1936 or it's 1938 where they first unveiled the true extent of the German army in a big parade that they did. But 1939, they've learned. They've got some good generals on the side. You've got Heinz Guderian, tank ace. He was the pioneer of Blitzkrieg. They've used Russian factories to be able to mass produce tanks, right, in exchange for German generals teaching the Soviets tactics. So, August 1939.
What happened there? The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which was pretty much, it was the Soviets and the Germans shaking hands and agreeing to, I believe it was a secret divide of Eastern Europe, wasn't it? So-
Yeah, it was basically Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Obviously, the main the main use of that was the division of Poland by the German Reich and the Soviet Union.
Yep.
So fast forward, August 31st, 1939, bomber crews begin their final preparations for bombing on Poland. Study last-minute plans. German tanks get ready in columns to march into Poland. And I think this is a good time to leave this episode off. Would you agree?
Yeah.
We have. I have to say we have briefly covered the Gathering the Storm. right? Because you could spend hours and hours going on about this, right? But we've got to try fit this in in a specific time. So we've tried our best to cover stuff. I mean, some of it's not in order. Like we went to 1938 and straight back to 1936, the Spanish Civil War, and we're going to Weimar Germany, and we're going on rants about von Stauffenberg and the July.
So yeah, that's
So then, you have been watching the podcast YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. To be honest, are you bored yet? And that is a good question. Are you bored yet? Are you sick of us yet? Let us know. And you've been watching Gathering the Storm. We'll hope you stick around for part 2.
Cling to my baby, and she clings to me.